Folks, welcome to another episode of the IM GPH podcast. And today is my first triple threat podcast. We have three people tuning in for this episode, and they're currently students at NYU GPH, and they're going to be sharing their words of wisdom, experiences, and even mindsets that you can employ when you apply to NYU yourself, or even if you're interested in the GPH experience in general. So we have Edward, Zhihao, Edward, Nina, and Natalie. I'm going to let you folks introduce yourself today since it will be a more unique intro for each of us. So let's start with you, Zhihao.
Hi, everybody. I'm Zhihao Chen. I also go by Edward. I am a second-year biostats student in NYU GPH here. And my current research focus is in Bayesian Network, along with Causal Inference. And I'm working in the tobacco research lab with Dr. Raymond Naora, as well as Dr. Violet. Thank you.
Nice. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Yep. Let's go ahead, Nina.
Hi, I'm Nina. I'm from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I'm also a second-year student at GPH, but my focus is in epidemiology. My research focus is mental health and substance abuse. Right now I'm doing an internship at Fordham University, and I love living in New York.
Love to hear that. That must be great to hear for the people that are joining us soon. Natalie.
Hi, I'm Natalie. I'm from Canberra, Australia. Like Nina, actually, I'm a second-year Master of Public Health student in EPI. My research that I'm working on at the moment is with cancer patients and caregivers in Vietnam. And the team that I'm working with, we're actually developing a mobile app to provide a novel psychosocial support intervention. And yeah, I also love so much living in New York City. It's definitely my favorite city I've ever lived in my whole life.
You're going to hear a lot of New York City on this podcast, folks, but I'm curious to start us off with the concept of GPH, because all of you have mentioned something unique and it's a different area, but we're all a part of this GPH family over here right now. So what was your aha moment when you decided that, hey, I want to be a part of public health and join global public health or be a part of it? I'd love to hear from all of you, because there's so much variety going on. But what made you choose your path? Where did you come from? And how did you establish that, hey, I'm going to be a part of the global public health world?
Yeah, I can go first. Yeah, sorry. So my undergrad degree was in computational biology. And I took an intro course to biostats on my, I believe, senior year. It's kind of late, but that course really enlightened me to see into the data science part in terms of biology or medical or even clinical background. So when I'm applying to a master's degree, which is by the 5th years of my undergrad, I discovered, coincidentally, the COVID come into place. I believe that's a huge impact for everybody. And I just searching on the in the public health field, and I see, okay, biostats is actually offered in the medical school as well as in public health. So that's why I stumble onto it, and I see, oh, this is a great chance or great opportunity for me to discover a whole range of different topics in terms of data that I can work with in terms of methodology or in application. That's for my case.
Love it.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I actually did my undergrad in biomedical sciences, and I was originally going to go the MD route. But then I worked in a level 1 trauma center emergency department for 4 years post-graduating. And I realized that the clinical healthcare world isn't for me. I realized I just don't like the way that healthcare is practiced in the US. There's a lot of issues. So I really, looking into public health and epidemiology, it's more that you start at the source of the issue instead of trying to fix it after it's already occurred. So I realize that's more what I'm interested in than seeing people who are already so late in their stages, and then you're trying to fix something that's been going on for so long. So I like the preventative side of public health for sure.
Yeah, nothing like targeting the root rather than the symptoms overall. Love to hear that.
My journey, funnily enough, was kind of the opposite of Nina's, and we've talked about this because I had, for the last probably 2 years of my undergraduate degree, I was pre-med biology, and I'd been thinking about doing a master in public health. And then I worked in a hospital as well, in a similar role to Nina, but a different like department. And for me, it actually solidified me wanting to get into the clinical side of medicine, but I saw like a lot of opportunity to apply the concepts that are taught and the skills that are taught in public health into clinical medicine. So that's my route with this degree and why I chose to go into public health.
Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Now now let's fast forward a bit, since all of you have been a part of the public health field and at NYU for a bit. A lot of students would like to hear about the concept of internships, labs, perhaps clubs. Can you share some experiences with any of these words that come to your mind in your time that you have been at NYU? And how do you find an internship? What was your journey? How did clubs help you perhaps? And you all can target the one thing that applies to you, or even talk about them both. Let's start with you, Natalie.
Yeah, so for me, I got involved in the research projects. So I'm currently involved in one, but I was involved in another one as well. Through it was sent out as an email to all of the GPH students, I think, or all of the EPI students. But also through talking to different staff in the GPH department in student affairs and other professors, just reaching out to them personally if you have class with them, because a lot of them are doing research and are looking for research assistants. So yeah, that's kind of how I found out about it, through the system that we have set up here at GPH to disseminate, roles for research assistant positions and internships that come up.
Gotcha. For those of you that are randomly listening to this podcast and not a part of public health, this applies to any field for that matter. Talk to the people around you. And that's exactly what Natalie's done. Awesome. What about you, Zhihao?
Yeah, for me, it's kind of random because we have, for biostats specific, we have a project called Consulting Lab. The purpose is like clinical or even from hospital faculty or professor, they will bring their issue in terms of the data science part. They don't know what kind of analysis they want to do. So they bring their issue and data to us, biostatistics, and we try to solve their problem in terms of what kind of analysis you should apply, what kind of other variable you could collect if you are designing a research in future. So that is a great chance that I can stumble onto a lot of professor and opportunities to get involved in the research. For me, the current lab that I'm working with is still the same as Natalie just introduced. Talk with your professor, read their article and approach them personally, like say, oh, you're doing this, I'm really interested in your following project, or I have some thoughts about your current, the article you just published. And I want to see if I can have a chance to talk with you further and just get along with your road. But I definitely got rejected a couple of times, even in GPH, but that's common. Everybody is not having a shared common opportunity for everybody, right? They have the different research interests, or maybe just simply you are not, let's just quote unquote, you're not incapable of doing what they are doing right now, but that's okay. You just need to keep trying. And that process might be frustrating, but you have to keep trying.
Words of wisdom right there. Love to hear that, man. Nina.
So what I tell like a lot of the incoming students when they ask this question, like my advice is always that there's so much opportunity at NYU in general. GPH specifically sends out emails weekly with different like people speaking, different opportunities, just different things that you can attend. And like I like to say, like I want to get the most out of my experience, so I like to try to go to everything. And there's definitely when you're sending out those cold emails, when you're looking for someone specifically, there is a lot of rejection or a lot of nothing on the other end, because you have to think about the people are busy. Okay. But there is so much opportunity. And if you just, as a grad student, like you have to really like take advantage of your own path and put yourself out there. And then there's so much that you can get into. So it's the same thing with the internships. Like I looked for something specifically of what I wanted to do with substance abuse prevention. And, once you get that interview and you can actually talk to someone face to face, they see that you're passionate. I think that it goes a long way. And then As far as clubs, I'm actually now the president of the Epic Club. So if anyone who's going to be in NYU 2022, 2023, I'm the president. So reach out if you want to join the club, because we have a whole new e-board and we're going to be like being a lot more interactive with GPH and a lot of fun events and stuff.
Awesome stuff on the internships, everyone, and about the interconnected community, using what you have available, show up to things that will only benefit you. And about the clubs, NYU has some great facilities and systems around the concept of clubs. Use them. There's hundreds of clubs at the school, and you'll definitely find something that you're looking for out here. Cool. All right, folks, I'd love to hop into some general advice topics. And a lot of folks that are coming into NYU might ask these questions. So I'm curious to know, what should the new students that are coming into NYU know before they come to NYU GPH specifically?
I would say just, again, be ready to push yourself in all new ways. Like, the opportunities are all around you, and especially in the school, and you just need to like go out and get them, and they're there for you, and they can push you a lot in your career path following graduation.
Yeah, I always tell people that like NYU is kind of free networking. A lot of world-renowned scientists have come through NYU or are affiliated with NYU. There's a lot of groundbreaking research going on. I really think that you just have to put yourself out there. It's great if you have like a solid resume heading into this school that you can just send out. I think that really helps. And just establishing a rapport, be friendly, go and say hi to your advisor, find out who they are, go there up and say, hey, like, I'm Natalie, I'm just starting here, great to meet you. And talk to your professors, introduce yourself at the end of class during the first week. They really love like teaching, and they want to help the students in any way they can.
Yeah, I would probably pick up on something not that broad or not that academic. I would say, know your place, where to stay, where to hang out in the school. I mean, you have a quiet place or a comfortable place that you can work on your project or just study quietly. I think for me personally, that's a big deal that a school could offer. So for us, GPH is lucky to have a brand new building, and the third floor is completely open for you to discuss whatever issue or any project you wish to discuss. And there's also room that you can reserve. Well, this may be subject to change in the future, but I'm just saying, explore the various resources in the school that you can use.
Yeah, for those of you folks coming into NYU this year or the following years, we've been very lucky. There's a huge building, 708 Broadway, that the students have access to. Great facility out there. Lots of new things coming up. It's a really cool spot. Speaking of this theme that we're on, what was the best piece of advice all three of you received in your first month, perhaps even the first semester at NYU, that stands out to you today?
For me, I was so stressed about taking loans out, and everybody was like, don't worry, it's an investment on yourself. And I think that really like stuck with me, because it's really, you're making a big leap, when you go to any graduate school program. And I think that just remembering that everything that you're doing is truly an investment in your future. So do it to the best of your abilities. And yeah.
I was really kind of stressed about getting like a job on campus in my first semester. And my advisor was just kind of like, it's very difficult like to get a job your first semester because no one knows who you are. So just like relax and, keep putting feelers out for stuff in the spring and stuff. And sure enough, like very easily I got a course assistant position in the spring. I got 2 research assistant positions. So yeah, I was very glad that he kind of just told me to chill a little bit, because yeah, I was getting very stressed.
Yeah. For me, same thing. Like, you would definitely be anxious about your own progress, especially looking around student. Maybe somebody is moving faster than you, like they have a research or they have 2 teaching assistant position. But I mean, yeah, it's not like you have to virtually like slow down, but just keep your pace, work towards that goal. And for me, it's like for the first very month, the biggest advice I get is just how to survive in general in New York City, actually, also around NYU, because the fast pace and the people here is really different from what I have in undergrad. And that's the biggest challenge for me, especially in the hot summer like this. It's kind of, you have to get used to the subway, to the buses, and where to eat, all that kind of stuff. But eventually you will find your position and you will be enjoying that part.
Speaking of finding what you're looking for, what are some expectations versus reality? So you folks came in, you had some expectation perhaps about New York, about NYU, about the Global Public Health School. What were the expectations, and what was the reality compared to what comes to your mind right now?
I would say like I had a good expectation of New York City because I used to come here every year, like once a year with my mom when I was like a teenager. So I kind of like easily got adjusted to that side of it. But as far as like expectations versus reality with NYU, I would say that my expectations were exceeded because I just feel like, again, I keep saying so much opportunity, but there really is. And I feel like even in my first semester, I learned so much. Like, you know, when you're an undergrad and you have to take a lot of these classes that you're like, why am I taking this class? Like, wow, I have not had that here. Like, I feel like most all of the classes are really applicable to like my future. And I've truly learned like a lot. So I would say like my expectations were definitely exceeded.
Love to hear that.
I think mine were exceeded too, but more just on like living in New York City in general. I think there's a lot of expectations that it's a really dangerous city, especially as like a single young like woman, I think. And I was pleasantly surprised that I really haven't been in many situations, if any, really, where I felt like really unsafe by myself, even late at night. And I don't live like directly around campus. I live in a different neighborhood. So I was pleasantly surprised with like how safe I feel around here, and like even on campus, like there's a lot of campus security around, and the campus security office is really centralized. So
yeah, for me, there's downside, there's upside. For expectation in the good place, it's like straightforward. There's a lot of good stuff, good meal restaurant around campus. You can check a lot of that. Well, if you're not that tight on the financial side, just kidding. But the other side is like same thing about your budget is like the housing cost, or just in general living cost in New York City is way out of my expectations.
That's true.
Unmeasurable. I like compared to what I have, which is in Austin, Texas. It's nothing. But here, like you have to spend a large amount of your budget on housing alone, and you probably have to balance a little bit around here and there, and maybe try to even adjust your living community depending on your budget. I would say that's one of my biggest expectations. That is not what I thought.
Yeah, folks, New York is a very unique place. You can pay twice the amount of money and get half the amount of space. It's an amazing place to be a part of.
Yeah, exactly.
Love it. So before we hop into our rapid fire round, I'd like for you folks to share some resources at NYU that you have found helpful throughout your time over there so far.
For me, like the biggest resource has honestly been my advisor, Andrea, for the EPI people. I know it goes by like last name, but if you get him, he's the best. Like I was emailing him, like classes start in September, okay? And I was emailing him in March with questions because I'm so neurotic and like I just want to get everything ahead of time. And he answered all my questions and he calmed me down, and he's always available to chat. He's always available for a Zoom. And he really has like all the answers. And even sometimes all you need to hear is it's going to be okay. Or, and he, anything like you're looking for an opportunity, you're looking for, should I take this class versus this class? Should I join this? Like he has all the answers, and he's been the best by far.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Well, if you're bringing that, I'm not letting my advisor down. Julie is the best for biostats. Remember that. Go check with her. Go talk with her. Even just for nothing, not just for advising. If you just randomly stumble her on the third floor or any place in this 708, go talk to her. She's a really cool and nice person on everything. She knows a lot of things about NYC, not just about the university, but about the city in general. And you can check up with your progress. Or even before you enter in NYU, you can shoot her an email if she is not that busy. Well, usually she's busy. But do use that kind of resources. The other one is just talk to all your faculties, like I mentioned before. They might be busy, but reach out to them and you will be surprised what kind of help you will get.
Yeah. I can definitely second Nina's story with Andre. He's also my advisor. And from an international student perspective, he's phenomenal. He knows so much about the little intricacies of being an international student. I've also found like the Student Health Center to be a really good resource. They have like very good counseling services if that's something that you want, like a student wants to explore. Also, they're like the physicians and nursing staff that work in the women's health and like the, I guess, family medicine general practitioner section have been awesome. And the pharmacy is great. That's a great resource to look at because they have things for a lot cheaper than like CVS or Walgreens do. So that's definitely been a really great resource the past 12 months.
Yeah. And the Student Health Center is a place where all students coming in should be aware of. It's an amazing resource that NYU has, and you never know what might happen. So keep aware, ask questions. Everyone's there to support you. They're very, very welcoming, kind, open. So go for it and ask those questions. With that, let's hop into some rapid fire, folks. And I'd love for the three of you to give shorter than a sentence answer. If you have a burning passion about the answer, go for it. Let's keep them short because we have a few questions that go forward. It's open to you. I'm not going to call your name. Just give the answer as per your mind. So, listeners, welcome to the rapid fire round with Nina, Zhihao, and Natalie. And our first question is: tell us about your experiences of moving into New York City. If you could leave us with one thing around this topic that requires more of an essay answer, what would be a sentence around the topic of moving to New York?
All right, I'll just go for it. I shipped 5 big boxes, which weighted 50 pounds from Austin. Done.
Elevator over walk-ups. Elevator over walk-ups. That is my answer for moving. Elevator over walk-ups.
If you can afford movers, hire movers. I didn't the last 2 times, and each time I regret it. It is worth it, 100%.
Couldn't agree more with all these answers. Best places to eat around NYU.
Mato Coffee, 100%. Everything is $2.50 in the app. So good.
It's true. John's of Bleecker for pizza. It's close to campus. Caracata is my favorite ramen spot. And then for a good deal, Soho Sushi on Sullivan Street right by NYU has like $14 lunch specials. In the city, that's like so cheap. So
there's one Chinese restaurant on 8th Street on the east side of the school. I don't exactly know the English name. It's Chuanshanjia in Chinese. If you go with a bunch of people, it can be an affordable meal, and it's really legit Chinese food.
Love it. We heard something from Natalie, but your ideal coffee tea spot in the city.
Ground Central, they have this super frothy lavender oat milk latte, chai tea latte. That's my spot.
My favorite place off campus is Black Fox Coffee. It's downtown Manhattan. They have a butterscotch latte.
Wow.
Chef's kiss.
I'm a boring person. Yeah, I just go grab a cold brew from Starbucks and I'm ready to work. Sorry.
I just have to add that coffee, like, and the food in New York when you're coming here, it is amazing. Everything, like the hype about New York City's food is real because everything is always really good.
Yeah.
some of your favorite classes at NYU so far.
Global Environmental Health with Dr. Caravanos. Awesome.
I agree with Natalie. We were in that class together. I also like the class Global Issues in Social and Behavioral Health because it was an open chatting forum, which I really liked because I think it helped students to learn more because it was really open discussion for more than half of the class period.
Machine learning with Dr. Fang. Biostatistics, sorry.
Machine learning. Love it, love it, love it. We spoke about the hustle and bustle of New York City, and a lot of people are in for experiencing a lot of hustle and bustle. Where's your calm place in the city?
Central Park. I live right on the park, so I just go there. I bring a blanket, lay out in the Sheep's Meadow, and that's my calm place.
I live downtown, so like the Hudson River side, the walk from like Battery Park City, just as far as you can go, is really nice. Or Prospect Park in Brooklyn is also beautiful, and the Botanic Gardens are out there, really gorgeous.
Yeah.
Well, I do suggest something from New Jersey. Actually, the city of Hoboken, the riverside is really cool, and they have big grassland. You can just relax on it. Super good.
What is the best way to make friends at NYU or in NYC? It's a city that has a lot going on, might be socially intimidating. What is the best way to find your community at New York?
For me, it was during classes. You find students who are like-minded, like the same kind of studying style, how they want to push themselves, and then you end up really having the same kind of going out nightlife style because you kind of have the same goals. So you have a good balance. So I think just talking to your classmates really.
Yeah, I agree with that. Also, whenever there's events held by GPH on the third floor, go to those, or like the orientation cruise is a great opportunity to meet people. I met a bunch of people that I'm still friends with a year later on the cruise.
Or if you're an international student, take advantage of the global,
Office
the OGS, Office of Global Services. Yes, and they have a lot of incoming events for new students, and you can even practice your English if necessary, and they offer that kind of opportunity as well.
Agreed. You folks are dropping bombshells. There's so much good information in everything you're saying. I'm learning stuff out of it, and I've been in New York for a long time too. Nice. All right. Best way to balance your academic and social life in such an overwhelming city?
I'm a big planner person. So I have a planner, it has time slots. I'm a big checklist planner, time slots person. Just time management, really.
I'd say get your work done as early as you can to keep your weekends free so you can go out and just do whatever you want to do. There's so much to do.
Yeah, or if it's necessary, then you have to sacrifice bits and bobs, little here and there. Know what you can handle in terms of both academic and, say, your social life.
So this might be another one that takes a lot of time to answer, but we all have weather stories. New York has the most erratic weather all around the board. It's hot, it's too cold, it's freezing, it's boiling. I'd love to hear a weather story from each of you.
Well, the winter is kind of long. I believe it's by the end of September all the way to maybe mid-April. Well, this year is even longer than that in my feeling. And the winter is long and dark. Like the sunset could be as early as 4, and you will have a really long and dark days. Probably when you're leaving home, it's still dark, and we're out of the 708 building, and it's dark again. Yeah. So be prepared with that, and just get yourself in a good mood in the long winter. Or you will get used to it.
Yeah, piggybacking off of that, dress appropriately because you'll go to school in the morning during the winter and you're like, oh, a light jacket and jeans is fine. And then when you come out of class and it's dark and you're freezing, so bring a jacket, just bring the jacket, who cares, stuff it in your backpack. But I would say for me personally, coming from Florida, I was like, oh, I'm from Florida. It's so hot there. Like, there's nothing. The summer in New York is going to be nothing. And then you have summer in the city, and the city is so hot because it's just like concrete. And then like a lot of places don't have central AC. So you walk into like a restaurant and you expect to, like, in Florida, it's like you get like a big cool down. So the takeaway is summers are super hot and winters are super cold.
Yeah. I remember at the end of last summer, there was just torrential downpour of rain and the subways got flooded. And so I was trying to actually go to see a friend and could not, like, you physically couldn't move. Uber prices were just exorbitant. And so I literally had to just like sit in my apartment for like 2 days until like the subways were back to normal. So yeah, just be prepared. End of August, start of September, there can be some crazy rain.
Yeah. Sure.
If you can't get an umbrella, you can always get a jet ski. New York rain.
Canoe, jet ski.
Yeah, right.
All right. Well, folks, that was a rapid fire round and amazing answers, full of value. I'm sure everyone's going to get a lot out of that because I certainly did, and I've been in New York for a long time. And the last question that I'd like to conclude with is the motivations that keep you going in this public health world. What is your why that makes you a part of this public health world and keeps you going over here?
So specifically for me, like, my focus is substance abuse prevention. And like, my story is like, I have a lot of like family members who have struggled with their own substance abuse battles. So I've kind of seen the inside of that ugly battle. And so that really like pushes me to, want to work to do my best in that public health field because I have my own personal history with that.
For me, I think in all the places I've lived throughout my life, I've noticed a lot of inequity and like resource inequity. And that's something that has always really bothered me. So I would say that that's my why, trying to, make sure that people know what resources are available to them and then finding gaps where there aren't resources and implementing plans to develop them.
Well, for me, it's like there's still data to be mined. There's always new data set, national surveys to be explored. And also there's things I just simply want to learn. There's no topics every day. And every day, you really come up with this paper and paper after paper. There's field that just haven't been explored by myself. So I cannot stop here.
Beautiful. Thank you all for all these lovely answers. It was amazing to learn more about all of you and all the value you've offered to the listeners down the line. Natalie, Zhihao, and Nina, thanks for tuning in and being a part of this episode. Students are going to get a lot of value from this. And folks, we're going to have links in the description for the podcast for future episodes. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks, folks.
Thank you. Thank you so much.